It's Karen at the Cool Tools Studio, and today I'm going to show you guys how I used the Celtic Entanglement texture tile and some CZs for sparkle to make an adjustable ring. These rings were really easy to make, and it didn't use a lot of clay. They're around 5 grams or so, and all I did was roll into a texture tile and then set the CZ, fire it, and then I bent it on a mandrel after the fact. You can make anywhere from size 6 to 13 using this pattern. Before we get going, here's what we're going to need for this project. I've got a clay board, some clay thickness rolling frames, an ultra clay pick, some precision hole punches, a coil roller, and the Celtic Entanglement texture tile. I've got some 3mm stones. I'm going to be using olivine CZs. And then I've got cool slip, a clay roller, some sanding pads, some EZ960 clay, and you're going to want to use sterling since you're going to be bending this after it's been fired. I've got a circle template, wick away in a brush, a rawhide mallet, and a ring mandrel. That's what you'll need. Let's get started. So my band ended up being 3 cards thick, but I like to start with rolling my clay to 4 cards thick and then roll down a card into my texture. So we're going to start by rolling our clay to 4 cards thick. Get some cool slip. Just some on my roller too. Looks good. And then we're going to be rolling into, there's 4 places you could choose on the tile to make your ring, but you're looking for the kind of circle with the 4-pointed star in it, and then these things that come off to the side of it, the oblong forms, are going to be the band of your ring. So I like to use additional tiles to support my rolling frames since I'm going to be rolling close to an edge. But we're just going to use a little bit of cool slip on our tile here. And then I'm going to be rolling across to this one. And these will help support my frame. And again, I'm laying my clay for there because that's what's going to make up my ring. And then we're going to roll into the texture. Peel this guy up. So I have here the clay with the texture on it, and I'll bring in one that's already been fired, but as you can see, this part of the texture becomes the band, and then I use a circle template to cut the circle face of the ring. So I like to work with 19. If you want to do a bigger face on your ring, you can bump up the circle size, and these templates have the nice little notches on it, and the pattern does have quite a bit of geometry in it, so I kind of use that to center the circle over the pattern. Like the little points on the stars can kind of line up with the points on your template there. And then when you're cutting, make sure you don't go around the whole circle and you stop at what's going to be your band there, so you're only cutting a portion of the circle. And then I'm just going to follow this line in the pattern for the band of the ring. You can always clean things up with sanding pads and kind of smooth out your edges if you don't get a perfect cut. But there you have the main form of your ring. And since we're going to be setting the CZ, you want to have a hole in the back for light. And I'm working with a 3mm stone, so I'm using the pink hole punch and then the smallest yellow hole punch to make my setting. And I'm just going to use the same size as the border of my setting to punch the hole in the ring itself. It helps to put some cool slip on your punches. I'll usually just spray some on my board and then dip into it. And then again, on the texture, there's kind of these little diamonds that point towards the center, and I use those to kind of line up the punch. And then pull that away. And then we're going to make the setting for the CZ. First, we have to determine how tall the setting's going to be. And I've got rolling frames here again. And this is a trick I learned from watching one of Lizelle's videos, because she's just a stone setting queen. But you set your CZ, so you'll take your coil roller and set it on top of your rolling frames, and if the stone doesn't move, then your setting will be tall enough. If I were to take one of these away and it moves, then it won't be a tall enough setting. So I know I need 4 cards and 3 cards thickness for my setting. And I'm just going to take some clay. I'll make sure it's nice and fresh for this so you don't get cracks. I'm just going to squish it. And then I usually cut the outside of my setting first. Again, I'm going to dip into my cool slip and just punch in. And sometimes it'll pull out with it, other times it'll stay here, and you can cut away the excess. And then you're going to come in with the smaller one and try your best to center it in there. And then I'm going to really gently pull it off without squishing the form. You can kind of re-tap it around if you accidentally squish it a little bit. I'm going to set it down. So then what I like to do is I'm going to set the stone and set the setting in my piece all in one go. I'm going to do that by just dampening the place where they're going to connect. I'm going to bring my rolling frames over the ring and use my brush to gently pick up the setting and try to coax them in the hole. So I'm going to take my stone and place it over the setting hole. Try to tap it center. And then I'm just going to take my coil roller again and give it a squish. So I'm going to let this dry, and then we're going to sand it and refine the edges. So here's the ring dried, and We're going to refine this edge, but before we do, I'm just going to really quickly talk about the different sizes and how that can impact how much you sand. This one, I left both the kind of border edges there, and that kind of made for a thicker band and gave me a little extra room on the back end here, and this would make the more larger sizes, whereas if you were wanting to make the 6 or so, I just think it looks a little better if you file and sand some more off on this edge and kind of taper that a little bit more. So that's kind of a preferential choice for you, but you'll want to refine that edge. And I've got some sanding sponges. And we're just going to clean up the cut line and the kind of dragged edge that the needle left. Like I said, if you're wanting to make a smaller size, I usually kind of will taper at the end there and remove a little more material. And you're just going to clean up that edge and work your way from the fine to the micro fine. And then sometimes I'll also just do a really quick sanding of the very top before I fire as well. And then the setting ends up being pretty clean, but if you have any cracks or anything that you need to repair with some water and paste, you can do that as well. And I also will sometimes go back to my fine and kind of round the edge of the setting as well. But just spend some time cleaning up the edges. Once you finish sanding, you're ready to fire your piece. We're going to fire these rings for 2 hours at 1675 on an open shelf. I have another one here that's already been fired, and we're going to bend it around our ring mandrel. And the key here is to be gentle and to kind of bend gradually. I'm just going to start with my hands and try to, in one smooth movement, kind of roll the ring around the mandrel. And if you're doing a smaller size, I find it's best to start slightly larger and then work your way smaller and kind of scoot it up the mandrel and give it some additional pinches. At the back here, you are going to have to use a mallet to gently tap the ends round. But that's it. So once you have your ring formed, you're going to want to tumble it. That will help solidify the shape and size of it and will also give it a nice shine. You can also add liver of sulfur to blacken the details if you'd like. This is a simple and easy project that I think you'll enjoy. It doesn't use a lot of clay, and I love that the rings are adjustable. Thanks for watching.
Visit our Learning Center at cooltools.us for more cool jewelry making videos. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and be sure to sign up for our email list to be the first to hear about new videos, new products, and other cool stuff from Cool Tools.